The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya by Nagaru Tanigawa. Published by Yen Press. Chapter 2. In retrospect, that's exactly how it played out. The following break, Haruhi didn't leave the room by herself like normal. Instead, she walked out with my arm forcibly in tow. After exiting the classroom, she rapidly proceeded through the hallway and flew up a flight of stairs before stopping in front of the door which led to the rooftop terrace. The door to the roof was usually locked, and the staircase leading up to the fourth floor was mostly used for storage, probably by the art club. Stuff like huge canvases and noseless busts of Mars were all piled up, leaving the corridor feeling a little cramped. Scratch that, it was cramped. And the lighting was dim to boot. What was the point of bringing me to a place like this? "Help me," Haruhi said. She was currently grabbing my necktie, pressuring me with her penetrating eyes. It felt like extortion. Help you with what? I already knew the answer, but I asked anyway. Making my new club. Why do I have to help with your idea? Tell me that first. I'll go secure a room and members, and you go get the chartering paperwork. She's not listening. I untangled myself from Haruhi's grip. What kind of club are you even planning on making? Why does it even matter? Creating the club comes first. I highly doubted the school would accept a club engaging in undisclosed activities. Understand? Find out what you have to do before school's over. I'll find a room before then. Got it? No. Except if I got the feeling that if I gave voice to that thought, I'd be clubbed to death on the spot. While I was trying to say the right thing, Haruhi had already flown down the stairs with an oddly spry skipping motion, leaving behind a very confused boy at the top of the dusty stairway. I didn't say yes or no yet. No point in talking to a plaster bust. I set off, now thinking about what I would say to my curious classmates when I returned to the classroom. Here are the provisions for chartering a, quote, student association. 5 or more members. Determine faculty advisor, name, responsible party, and club activities. This must be approved by the Student Council Club Administration Committee. Club activities must adhere to the policy of leading a productive and active school life. Based on future activities and performance, the Administration Committee may press a motion for a raise in status to Research Society. Furthermore, as long as the group remains a student association, no funding will be provided. There was no need for any real digging. This was all written in the back of the student handbook. We could take care of the member requirement by randomly asking people to let us use their names. A faculty advisor might be hard to find, but there was always the option of using deceit. The name just needed to be something inoffensive. The responsible party would obviously be Haruhi. But I was willing to bet that her club activities weren't going to, quote, adhere to the policy of leading a productive and active school life, end quote. At least that's what I told her. However, Haruhi Suzumiya is the kind of person who only hears what she wants to hear. Grabbing the sleeve of my blazer with a vice-like grip the moment the bell rang, Haruhi dragged me out of the room the way a kidnapper would and zoomed off. It was all I could do to prevent my book bag from being left behind in the classroom. Where are we going? The question any sane person would ask in this scenario. The club room, was Haruhi's curt response before she fell silent as she moved forward with enough vigor to bowl over the darting students in front of us. At least let go of my arm. We navigated through a passage and descended to the first floor before exiting. Then we entered a different building and headed back upstairs before Haruhi came to a stop in the middle of a dimly lit hallway, forcing me to brake as well. A door stood before us. Literary Club. That's what it said on the affixed slanting nameplate. Here. Haruhi opened the door without even knocking and barged in without the slightest hint of reservation. I followed suit naturally. The room was surprisingly large, maybe because it was only contained a long table, metal chairs, and steel bookshelves. The 2 or 3 cracks running across the ceiling and walls told the tale of the decrepit state of the building's structure. And seated one of the metal chairs, like an addition to the room, was a girl reading a thick hardcover book. This room is now our club room, Haruhi proclaimed in a dignified fashion, throwing her arms into the air. Her face was painted with a divine smile. I decided not to voice my opinion that seeing such a smile on her face in the classroom every day would be a good thing. Wait a second. Where are we? The Cultural Department Clubhouse. The art room and wind ensemble have the art room and music room, right? Clubs and societies that don't have specialized classrooms have rooms in this clubhouse, also known as the Old Shack. This is the Literary Club's room. So this belongs to the Literary Club? But the 3rd years all graduated last spring, so it has 0 members. It was the only club that would have been cut if nobody new joined, and this girl is the 1st year who joined. Then the club wasn't cut, right? It might as well have been. It only has 1 person. Unfrickin' believable. She planned on taking over the room. I directed my attention toward the girl who was apparently a first-year literary club member, indulging myself in reading at the folding table. A girl with short hair and glasses. She hadn't even looked up once during Haruhi's clamoring. The only movement was with her fingers turned the page every once in a while. The rest of her body hadn't moved the slightest bit. She was completely ignoring our presence. She was quite the weird girl. I lowered my voice and whispered to Haruhi, "What about her?" "She says she's fine with it." "For real?" "I ran into her during lunch. When I asked her to lend me this room, she said to go ahead. She doesn't care as long as she can read, apparently. I suppose you could call her an oddball." "You're one to talk." I took another look at the strange literary club member. Pale skin with a face devoid of emotion, robotic finger movement. Her hair was shorter than a bob cut, yet managed to cover her strange features. It made me want to see what she looked like without glasses on. Her doll-like demeanor meant she had a lack of presence. If I had to classify her, the simplest way would be that she's the mysterious stoic type. I'm not sure what she thought of this blatantly fixed stare. The girl pushed up the bridge of her glasses without preamble. Dark-colored eyes stared at me from behind the lenses. Neither eyes nor lips revealed any emotion at all. A top-notch poker face. Unlike Haruhi's, her default expression appeared to show no emotion at all. "Yuki Nagato," she said. Seemed to be her name. She had a flat voice you could forget in about 3 seconds. Yuki Nagato looked for me for about as long as it would take to blink twice. Then she apparently lost interest and returned to her reading. "So, Nagato," I said. "She's planning on turning this room into a I have no idea what club. Is that okay with you?" "Yes." Yuki Nagato answered without taking her eyes off the page. "Well, but it will probably be a huge bother." "Not really. You might even get chased out." "Go ahead." Quick responses were good, but her replies had no feeling to them. It would seem that she genuinely didn't care. "Well, there you have it," Haruhi interjected. Her voice was always full of life. I was getting a bad feeling about this for some reason. "Be sure to meet in this room after school from now on. You had better show up. If you don't, heads will roll." She said this with a smile like cherry blossoms in full bloom. I reluctantly nodded my assent, since I like my head where it is. And so we managed to secure a club room, which was good, but we hadn't made any progress with the paperwork. Besides, we hadn't even decided on a name or what club activities we'd be engaging in. I told her to figure those out first, but Haruhi apparently had other ideas. "That stuff will fall into place later on," Haruhi loudly proclaimed. "First comes the members. We need at least 2 more. "Which means what? We're counting the literary club member? Aren't you confusing Yuki Nagato with a piece of furniture that came with the room?" "Rest assured, I'll find them in no time. I happen to know someone who was made for this club." How was I supposed to be rest assured? My doubts were only growing stronger. The next day, I declined when Taniguchi and Kunikita invited me to walk home with them and, having no choice, dragged my legs towards the club room. Haruhi just yelled, "You go on ahead!" before tearing out of the room with a record acceleration time that would explain why the track team was so fervently pursued her membership. Fast enough to make you wonder if she might have the rocket boosters attached to her legs. She was probably off to secure the new club member. Did she run into an alien? I slung my book bag over my shoulder and unenthusiastically shuffled my feet into the direction of the literary club. Yuki Nagato was already in the club room. She was reading the exact same position as yesterday, giving me a sense of deja vu. And just like yesterday, she didn't twitch when I entered the room. Not that I would know, but isn't the literary club just a place for sitting around and reading books? Silence. "What you reading?" I asked, unable to bear the silence any longer. Instead of answering, Yuki Nagato merely raised the book to show me the color. The foreign-sounding title, written in Gothic lettering, was already putting me to sleep. Looked like a sci-fi novel or something. "Is it any good?" Yuki Nagato pushed the bridge of her glasses with a limp motion and replied in a listless tone. "Unique." I got the feeling she was giving an arbitrary answer to my question. Which part of it?" "All of it." "You like books, huh?" "Relatively." "Is that so?" Silence. Can I leave now? I dropped my bag on the table and was in the process of seating myself in one of the extra chairs when the door opened. Well, more like it was kicked open. "Hey, sorry about being late. It took me a while to catch her." Haruhi made her entrance with one hand over her head. The other hand was behind her, grabbing some other person's arm. Haruhi barged in, said person in tow, obviously brought here against their will, and locked the door for some reason. Click. Upon hearing that, the petite person began trembling with anxiety. It was another girl, and an extraordinarily beautiful one at that. How is this person made for this club, exactly? "What is this?" the beautiful girl said. The poor thing was almost in tears. Where are we? Why'd you bring me here? Why are you locking the door? What are you? Be quiet. The girl froze upon hearing Haruhi's imperious voice. Allow me to introduce you. This is Mikuru Asahina. And with that, Haruhi said no more. That was the whole introduction? A constrained silence fell over the room. Haruhi was standing there looking like she already done her duty. Yuki Nagato was reading as though nothing had happened. The mysterious girl named Mikuru Asahina was cowering on the verge of tears. I didn't foresee any of them speaking so soon, so I had no choice but to open my mouth. Where did you abduct her from? I didn't abduct her. It was a voluntary arrest. Close enough. I caught her daydreaming in a second-year classroom. I walked through every nook and cranny of the school during breaks, and her face started to become familiar after a while. I've been wondering why she wasn't in the classroom during breaks, so I guess that's what she was doing. Wait, more importantly, then isn't she an upperclassman? What about it? She had a puzzled expression on her face. Apparently, she really didn't think anything of it. Never mind then. Asahina, is it? Why her? Well, take a look. Haruhi jabbed her finger at the nose of Mikuru Asahina, who shrank in fear. She's super cute, isn't she? Haruhi sounded like a dangerous kidnapper. At least that was my reaction. I believe that moe is an essential factor. But sorry, what? Moe, you know, turn-ons. The element of turning people on. There's always an alluring, Lolita-looking character present. I inadvertently turned to look at Mikuru Asahina, a petite body and a baby face. I see. An inattentive person would easily mistake her for a grade school student. Her slightly curly chestnut hair softly concealed her collar. Her watery puppy dog eyes begged for protection, and her teeth of white ivory peeking out from within her half-open mouth created a miraculous sense of harmony with her small face. If she had been holding a wand with a glowing ball on top, I would have expected her to transform into a magical anime girl. Wait, what the hell am I saying? That's not all. Haruhi circled behind Mikuru Asahina, our upperclassman, with a lofty smile, and suddenly grabbed her from behind. What? Asahina screamed. Haruhi, undeterred, moved in for the kill as she grabbed a hold of her breast through her sailor uniform. Ah! She's so small, yet look, her breasts are even bigger than mine. A Lolita's face with big breasts? This is an important element of turning people on. News to me. And with that, Haruhi reached under Asahina's uniform and began to grope her. Hello? It's starting to piss me off, such a cutie's sporting bigger ones than me. Asahina struggled and kicked, her face bright red, but she couldn't overcome the difference between her physical builds. Haruhi, getting carried away, began lifting her skirt, which was when I pried the perverted girl off of Asahina's back. Are you a moron? But they're really big, seriously. Why don't you touch them? Asahina let out a small squeak upon hearing that. I'll pass. What else could I say? What's really amazing that during this whole time, Yuki Nagato hadn't looked up from her book once. Something was wrong with her too. So then, what? The fact that this Asahina is cute, small, and has big breasts is why you brought her here? That's right. Haruhi must have been born dumb. I was thinking we need a mascot character like her. Don't. Think about something else. Asahina softly rearranged her disheveled uniform, then stared at me with upturned eyes. It's kind of awkward when you look at me that way. Mikuru, are you in any other clubs? The calligraphy club? Quit that then. It will conflict with our club activities. Haruhi was as self-centered as ever. Asahina looked like a future murder victim who had just been given the option of taking potassium cyanide. She glanced up at me once more if she was seeking salvation. Then she noticed Yuki Nagato's presence for the first time, and her eyes opened wide in surprise. Her eyes wandered the room before whispered, I see, in a voice reminiscent of a dragonfly sighing. I understand, she said. What did she just understand? I'll quit the calligraphy club and join this one. The sadness in her voice made me feel bad for her. But I'm not sure what the literary club does. We aren't the literary club. Haruhi said this like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I explained to the wide-eyed Asahina in Haruhi's place. We're temporarily borrowing this room. The club you're being forced into is an unnamed student association yet to be made by Suzumiya over there that will participate in unknown activities. What? Incidentally, the person sitting there reading is the real literary club member. Asahina, adorable lips wide open, became speechless. Couldn't blame her. No worries. Haruhi, with a bright smile free from any sense of responsibility, firmly brought her hand down to Asahina's small shoulder. I just came up with a name. Let's hear it. My voice, carrying no hint of expectation, echoed through the room. If possible, I'd rather not hear this, and Haruhi Suzumiya obviously couldn't care less about my concerns as she triumphantly named the club in her soaring voice. Attention everyone, the name of this fledgling club has just been decided. No alterations have been made. This is purely a product of Haruhi Suzumiya's mind. The Save the World by Overloading It with Fun Haruhi Suzumiya Brigade. Or SOS Brigade for short. Feel free to laugh. I was struck dumb first, though. You're probably wondering why it was a brigade. Originally, it should have been the Save the World by Overloading It with Fun Haruhi Suzumiya Association, but an association hasn't been chartered yet, and nobody had a clue on what this group was supposed to do. So brigade is fine then. Haruhi's incomprehensible words settle the matter. Oh, joy. Asahina kept her mouth shut as though resigned to her fate. Yuki Nagato was an outsider. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Consequently, the name SOS Brigade passed with 1 I and 3 abstentions. Oh joy. Just do whatever you want. After Haruhi instructed us to meet here after school every day, we were dismissed. The sight of Asahina trudging through the hallway with her shoulders drooped was just too pitiful to watch, so... Hey, Asahina. What is it? Asahina, who didn't look in any way older than me, tilted her innocent face, pure in essence, towards me. You know, you don't have to join such a weird group. Don't worry about her. I'll talk to her later. No. She stopped walking, her eyes narrowed ever so slightly. It's okay. I'll join. But I really doubt this will turn out well. It'll be fine. You're also here, aren't you? That's right. Why am I here? This was probably an inevitability on this time plane. Her eyes were on her cute round face, looked off into the distance. Huh? And I'm concerned of why Nagato is here. Concerned? No, it's nothing. Asahina shook her head in a flustered state. The soft strands of her hair gently swayed. Then, Asahina, with an embarrassed smile on her face, bowed deeply. I may be new at this, but I hope to get along with everyone. Well, if you say so. Also, please feel free to call me Mikuru. She smiled sweetly. Yeah, she's cute enough to make me swoon. I was talking to Haruhi one day. What else do you think we need? Beats me. I'm thinking about getting my hands on a mysterious transfer student. I'd like you to define mysterious first. It hasn't even been 2 months since the new term began. Anyone who transfers in at this point must qualify as mysterious, right? Don't you agree? Maybe the student's dad was suddenly transferred. No, that's abnormal. What would you consider normal? I'd like to know that. I wonder if a mysterious transfer student will show up. In other words, you don't give a damn what I think, do you? It would appear that a rumor had spread that Haruhi and I were plotting something. Say, what are you and Suzumiya up to? The person who asked this was obviously Taniguchi. Don't tell me you two are dating. Absolutely not. I'm the one that would like to know exactly what the hell we're doing. Hey, don't overdo it. We're not in middle school anymore. If you render the grounds unusable, they might suspend you. If Haruhi does something by herself, I can't be bothered to clean up after her. At the very least, I have to prevent Yuki Nagato and Mikuru Asahina from coming to any harm. I'm kind of proud of how considerate I am, though I doubt I have much chance of stopping Haruhi once the afterburners kick in. After the SOS Brigade was founded, a literary club room, previously only adorned by a long table, metal chairs, and bookshelves, began accumulating a growing number of items. I don't know where Haruhi got this stuff from, but a portable garment rack sat in the corner of the room along with an electric kettle, teapot, and enough teacups for everyone. The room also had a stereo system without a CD player, a single compartment fridge in this day and age, a portable gas stove, an earthenware pot, and various eating utensils. What was all this stuff for? Was she planning on living here? Haruhi was currently sitting Indian style with her arms crossed on a desk she had flinched from some classroom, and on the desk rested a pyramid on which the words Brigade Chief were written in magic marker. A computer would be nice too, she said. We're living in the information age and yet we don't have a single computer. I can't forgive them. Can't forgive who? Our members were basically assembled. Yuki Nagato was in her usual position, engrossed in reading some hardcover with some title about Saturn moon falling. Asahina, who really didn't need the comm but obediently came anyway, was seated in a chair with nothing to do. Haruhi leaped off the desk and smiled in my direction, giving me a really ominous feeling. "Let's go scrounge one up." Haruhi said this, looking like a deer hunter off to a hunting range. Scrounge up a computer? From where? You plan on raiding an electronics store? Of course not. There's a much closer source. After ordering us to follow her, Haruhi led Asahina and me to our destination, the Computer Research Society, 2 doors down. I see. "Hold this," she said as she handed me an instant camera. "I'm going to tell you the plan, so you better stick to it. Don't mess up the timing, understood?" Haruhi pulled me down and whispered her plan into my ear. Huh? That's ridiculous. It'll be fine. Fine for you, maybe. I glanced at Asahina, who was curiously looking this way, and attempted to make eye contact. It would be a good idea to run for it now. As I furiously blinked my eyes at her, Asahina looked up at me dubiously, and after applying some kind of twisted logic, she blushed. No good, she wasn't getting the message. In the meantime, Haruhi calmly opened the door to the Computer Research Society without even knocking. "Hello, we're here to take one of your computer and peripherals." The layout was similar to ours, but this club was rather cramped. A number of display monitors and computer towers were on uniformly spaced tables. The low whirling of cooling fans resonated through the room. The 4 male students who had been clattering away on their keyboards turned attention to Haruhi, standing in some doorway of some kind of mission. "Who's in charge?" Haruhi said rather haughtily with a smile on her face. One of them stood in response. That would be me. Do you need something?" "I already told you what I need. I only need one, so give me a computer." The Computer Research Society president, an unnamed upperclassman, had an expression on his face that plainly asked, "What is she talking about?" as he shook his head. "No way. School funding wasn't enough to cover the cost, so we had to save up our own money before we were able to finally buy these just recently. We aren't blessed with enough equipment to hand some out to whoever asked for them." One can't hurt. You got so many." "Now look here." "Wait, who are you people?" "The SOS Brigade, Chief Haruhi Suzumiya. These two are subordinate number 1 and number 2. "You didn't have to call us subordinates." "I order it in the name of the SOS Brigade. Stop your grumbling and hand one over." "I don't know who you people are, but no means no. Buy one yourself." "In that case, I have my own ideas about that." Haruhi's eyes shone with audacity. Not a good sign. Pushing Asahina, who had been spacing out nearby, in front of her, Haruhi approached the president, and just when he realized that she grabbed the president's arm, she pressed the palm into Asahina's breast with lightning speed. Click. And with 2 varying screams playing in the background, I clicked the shutter on the instant camera. As she held down Asahina, who was trying to escape, Haruhi used her right hand to direct the president's hand and firmly groping the little girl's breast. "Kyon, take another shot!" I reluctantly pressed the shutter button. "Forgive me, Asahina and the unnamed president." The president finally broke free of Haruhi's grip and leapt away right when Haruhi was about to thrust his hand into Asahina's skirt. "What are you doing?" Haruhi gracefully waved her finger in front of the president's bright red face. Tisk. I got pictures of your sexual harassment now. If you don't want me to spread these pictures around school, hand over a computer." "That's ridiculous," the president furiously objected. "I feel for you." "You forced me to do it. I'm innocent." "And how many people do you think will believe you?" I looked towards Asahina to find her unmoving, sprawled on the floor. She moved beyond shock and into a coma. Meanwhile, the president continued to protest. "All of my members here are witnesses. It was against my will." The 3 computer members, who had been petrified with their jaws hanging open, apparently regained their senses and nodded. "Yeah, that's right. It wasn't the Prez's fault." However, such weak recruiting in unison wasn't going to work on Haruhi. "Well, I'll just say the whole club gang raped her." Everyone in the room, including Asahina and myself, turned pale. That was going too far. Suzumiya!" Haruhi lightly kicked away Asahina's arms, which were clinging to her leg, and haughtily puffed up her chest. "So what will it be, boys? Are you going to hand it over or not?" The president's face, who had already gone from red to white, now became ashen. He was finally defeated. "Just take whatever one you want." The president collapsed onto his chair. The other members ran over. "Prez, get a hold of yourself." His head was hung like a marionette whose strings had been cut. I may have been an accomplice in this travesty, but I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. "Which one's the newest model?" She was as cool-headed as ever. "Why do I have to tell you that?" Haruhi responded by pointing to the camera in my hand. Damn it. That one. Haruhi took a look at the tower computer brand and model number and took a slip of paper from her skirt pocket. I stopped by the computer shop yesterday and had an employer tell me all the newest models. This wasn't one of them. Her attention to detail was scaring me. Haruhi circled the table, checking every computer before pointing at one of them. Give me this one. Hold on, we just bought that last month. Camera. Take it, you thief. We are indeed thieves. I can't even deny that. There was no ends to Haruhi's demands. After disconnecting all the cables, she ordered that the monitor and every little thing be moved to the literary club and reconnected. She even had them run a LAN cable between our rooms so we could cross the internet and connect to the school's domain on top of that. All this was done by the Computer Society members. This is what you call extortion. Asahina. Having been rendered helpless during this whole incident, I turned to the petite girl curled up in the fetal position with her hands over her face. Let's go back for now. I helped the sobbing Asahina up. Haruhi could have just let her own breasts be groped. If she doesn't give a damn about changing in front of the guys, she probably wouldn't have a problem with that. As I tried to comfort Asahina, still crying, I wonder what the computer was going to be used for. Well, I would find out soon enough. The launch of the SOS Brigade website. Apparently that's what Haruhi wanted to do. So who's gonna make it? The website or whatever? You. That was Haruhi's response. You got free time, don't you? Do it. I have to find more members. The computer was on the desk with the brigade chief pyramid. Haruhi was moving the mouse around and surfing the web. Have it finished in a day or two. We can't participate in any activities until the site's up. Yuki Nagato, reading her book, and Mikuru Asahina, sprawled on the table next to her, shoulders trembling, acted as they had nothing to do with this. It would appear that the only one listening to Haruhi talking was me, and since I was the only one who heard Haruhi's order, I had to follow through with it. At least, that's what Haruhi thought. No doubt about it. Easy for you to say. At least, that's what I said, but I was actually pretty psyched. No, it's not that I got used to following Haruhi's orders. I was pretty psyched about making the website. I never made one before, but it sounded pretty fun, right? The next day would be my first chapter of my epic struggle to make a website. That being said, it wasn't much of a struggle at all. The Computer Research Society, living up to its name, had already installed most of the necessary programs. All I had to do was open up a template and do a bit of copy and pasting. The problem was what to put on the site. After all, I still had no idea what kind of activities the SOS Brigade was involved in. I couldn't possibly write about the club activities that didn't exist yet. So after pasting an image that says, "Welcome to the SOS Brigade's website," on the top page, my fingers stopped moving. I could hear the chants of, "Hurry up and make it," incessantly ringing through my ears, which is why I sit there with the mouse in hand as I ate my lunch. Hey Nagato, do you have anything you want to put on the site? I tried asking Yuki Nagato, who sat reading in our room even during lunchtime. Nothing. She didn't even look up. Not that I care, but she does go to class, right? I returned my attention from Yuki Nagato to the 17-inch monitor and went back to thinking. There's another problem. Isn't it a bad idea to use school domain address for a website of a questionable brigade that holds lower status than a school-approved student association? What they don't know can't hurt them. That was Haruhi's defense. If they find out about it, just drop the site. With these things, whoever takes action wins. I was a bit envious of her optimistic attitude. I added a free CGI access counter, put up a text message address, still too early for a message board, and uploaded the website consisting the top page alone with no actual content. This should be good enough. After confirming that the page was loading properly on the net, I closed all the programs and shut down the computer. Then, as I was about to stretch myself out, I noticed Yuki Nagato standing behind me and jumped out of my chair. It's like you couldn't sense her presence. Before I knew it, Yuki Nagato was standing behind me with a pale face that resembled a no mask. With a poker face you'd find yourself hard-pressed to match, she stared at me the way one would stare at an eye chart. Here. She held out a thick book. Out of reflex, I took it. I'm sure it was heavy. Looking at the cover, I saw that it was the sci-fi book Nagato had been reading a few days ago. I'll lend you this. With that brief statement, Nagato left the room before I even had time to refuse. What's the point of lending me such a thick book? Left alone in the classroom, I could hear the bell signaling my approaching end of lunch break. It appeared that I was surrounded by people who couldn't care less about what I thought. Upon returning to the classroom with the hardcover book, I was greeted to the point by a mechanical pencil poking me in the back. Well, is the site done? Haruhi was sprawled on her desk with a sullen look on her face. She was furiously writing away about who knows what on a torn-out sheet of notebook paper. I feigned casualness to avoid the attention of fellow classmates. It's done, sure, but an empty site that will probably piss off visitors. Oh, that's good enough for now. We just need an email address. Wouldn't a text message address work then? That will do. It wouldn't be able to handle the flood of emails. Why would a newly created email address get flooded with emails? That's a secret. Then she got that disturbing smile on her face again. It gave me the creeps. You'll find out after school. For now, it's top secret. I'd rather you keep it top secret forever. Haruhi was nowhere to be seen during the following period. One could hope that she'd quietly gone home, but that was frankly impossible, merely a prelude to her evil doings. After school, I still had misgivings about what we were doing, so why was it my legs were taking me toward the clubroom? As I was making such metaphysical observations, I found myself in front of the door. Yuki Nagato was already there, naturally, along with Mikuru Asahina sitting in a chair with her hands together. I'm not one to talk, but are these two really that bored? Asahina greeted me with what was obviously an expression of relief upon my entrance. I guess being stuck in a room alone with Nagato was stressful. You still came today after what happened yesterday? Where's Suzumiya? Asked Asahina. Beats me. She's already gone during 6th period. Perhaps she's off extorting more equipment. Will I be forced to do something like yesterday again? Seeing that her brow was creased with worry, I tried to sound as kind as possible. Hey, don't worry. Next time she tries to force you into doing something like that, I'll do everything that I can to prevent it. She can use her own body for that stuff. It'd be a cinch for Suzumiya to pull off. Thank you. The sight of her bowing her head with a shy smile on her face was so adorable that I wanted to throw my arms around her. I didn't, though. I'm counting on you, then. You can count on me. My guarantee might have meant something if it hadn't fallen apart like a baseless theory, a house of cards, or an atom of hydrogen inside the sun before even 5 minutes had passed. I'm pretty worthless. Hey, hey, Haruhi said as she entered the room. My eyes were drawn to the large paper bags in both her hands. Took a little longer than expected. Sorry about that. It's safe to assume that whatever Haruhi is in a good mood, she's plotting some scheme that involves inconveniencing other people. Haruhi set the paper bags on the floor and turned to lock the door. Asahina reflexively jumped at the sound. What are you planning to doing this time, Suzumiya? Just so you know, I refuse to do any more burglary. Or blackmail, I said. What are you talking about? I'd never do something like that. Then explain the computer on the desk. Obtained using peaceful measures. But forget that. Here, look at this. Haruhi removed a stack of printer paper from one of the paper bags. There was some kind of writing printed on the paper. These are flyers I made to spread the name of the SOS Brigade. I stuck into the copy room and printed out 200 copies. Haruhi passed out the flyers to us. So that's what she was doing when she skipped class, huh? Pretty amazing how nobody caught her. I didn't particularly want to look at the flyer, but for the time being, I took it and gave it a chance. Proclamation of the SOS Brigade Founding Principles. We members of the SOS Brigade are searching for the mysteries of the world. People who have experienced something mysterious in the past, people who have run into something mysterious recently, and people who plan on mysterious experience in the near future should come see us. We will solve your problem on the spot, guaranteed. However, a normal mystery will not do. It has to be a mystery that wows us. Make note of that. You can contact us that... I thought I was starting to understand the purpose of this brigade. It would appear that Haruhi wanted to immerse herself in the worlds of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Let's go pass them out now. Where at? The front gate. There should be plenty of students heading home right now. Oh, really? Was my response as I moved to pick up the paper bag before Haruhi stopped me. You don't need to come. Mikuru's going to be the one that comes with me. What? Asahina, holding a half sheet of paper in her hands and reading its poorly written contents, tilted her head. Haruhi, rumming through the paper bag, vigorously pulled out an item. Ta-da! Looking as triumphant as an Olympic gold medalist, Haruhi pulled out what at first appeared to be a piece of black cloth. But, oh no. Once Haruhi had finished removing objects from her bottomless bag, I realized why Haruhi had designated Asahina for the task and began praying for her. May your soul rest in peace. Black leotard, fishnet stockings, attachable ears, and a bow tie along with white collar, cuffs, and tail. It was a bunny girl outfit. What is this for? That was Asahina, sounding quite frightened. Well, can't you tell? Bunny girl. That was Haruhi, sounding quite calm. You can't mean for me to wear... Of course. There's one for me, too. I can't wear something like that. Don't worry, the size should be right. No, that's not what I meant. Are we going to be wearing those things while passing out flyers at the school gate? Isn't that obvious? I don't want to. She had that flinty look in her eyes. Haruhi leapt onto Asahina the way a lioness would attack a stray gazelle and began removing the sailor uniform from the struggling girl. No! Stop resisting. Making outrageous demands, Haruhi pinned down Asahina. She easily pulled off her top and moved her fingers to the hook of the skirt, which is when I thought I'd better stop this and moved toward them only to meet Asahina's eyes. Don't look! Upon hearing that cry, I turned around and ran for the door. Damn, it was locked, and wasted time rattling and turning the knob before I finally unlocked the door and tumbled outside. And based on the quick side glance during all of this, Yuki Nagato was reading her book as though nothing was happening. Don't you have anything to say about this? As I leaned against the closed door, I could hear pitiable screams coming from Asahina. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to know what was going on in there, naturally. Sometime later, I received a signal. You can come in now. When I hesitantly returned to the room, I was met by the sight of two unbelievably perfect bunny girls. Haruhi and Asahina both looked amazing. Low cut in front with an open back, high cut on the bottom with fishnet stockings wrapped around the legs. The bunny ears swaying on top of their heads and the white collar and cuffs scored bonus points. Not that I knew what those points were for. The combination of Haruhi, who has a slender build yet with curves, and Asahina, who looks small yet sticks out all in the right places, was too much for my eyes. As I pondered if I should say, "It looks good on you," to the sobbing Asahina, Haruhi spoke. What do you think? What do I think? I can only think that your mental capabilities are suspect. This will be perfect for attracting attention. Most of the people walking by will take our flyers if we're dressed like this, right? Well, yeah. Two people dressed in costumes standing around school are bound to attract attention. What about Nagato? I can only buy 2 of them. I got the full set, so it was pretty expensive. Where do they sell this stuff? I ordered it online. I see. I was wondering why I didn't have to look down as much as usual when I noticed that even careful enough to put on high heels. Haruhi grabbed the bag containing the flyers. Let's go, Mikuru. Asahina, with her arms crossed over her chest, looked toward me for salvation. I could only stare at her in her bunny outfit. I'm sorry, to be honest, I can't get enough of that outfit. Asahina fussed like a child as she clung to the table, but being no match for Haruhi's ridiculous strength, she and her soft cries were swiftly dragged off, and the 2 bunny girls disappeared from the room. I sank into my chair with an overwhelming feeling of guilt. There. Yuki Nagato pointed at the floor. Upon looking, I found 2 sailor uniforms lying in a scattered heap and... Was that a bra? The short-haired girl remained silent as her fingers shifted to the garment rack before she wordlessly went back to reading as her job was finished. You do it, her gesture said. Sighing, I picked up the girls' uniforms and hung them on the garment rack. Gah, I could still feel the warmth from their body heat. 30 minutes later, a worn-out Asahina returned. Whoa, her eyes were red like a real bunny's. This isn't the time to be saying stuff like that, as I quickly gave her my chair. And just like before, Asahina collapsed into the table, her finely shaped shoulder blades trembling. Apparently, she didn't even have the energy to get changed. Her back was half exposed, making it difficult for my eyes. I removed my blazer and covered her quivering pale back. The uncontrollably sobbing girl, the unresponsive bookworm, and the bewildered castrated bastard, me, spent the following period of time silently in the clubroom with a record-setting strained atmosphere. In the distance, I could clearly hear the lousy horns of the brass band and the indiscernible yelling of the baseball team. It was around the time when I started thinking of insignificant things like what would be for dinner tonight when Haruhi finally spoke. I'm pissed. What were those stupid teachers? They had to go and get in my way. She was venting while in the bunny outfit. I had a general idea of what happened, but I asked anyway. Was there some kind of problem? Way beyond that. We haven't even distributed half the flyers when the teachers came running over and told us to stop. Who do they think they are? You know, if 2 bunny girls started handing out flyers at the front gate, people who aren't even teachers are going to come running to stop you. I was dragged into the student guidance office. Even that handball moron Okabe was brought in. The guidance counselor and Okabe, the homeroom teacher, probably had a hard time figuring out where to put their eyes. Anyway, I'm pissed. That's enough for today. Dismissed. Haruhi tore the bunny ears off her head and threw them on the floor and began removing the bunny outfit. I sprinted out of the room. How long are you going to keep crying? Come on, get changed already. I leaned against the hallway hall as I waited for them to finish changing. It's not that Haruhi's an exhibitionist. Probably just had no idea what effect her scantily clad bodies had on males. Similarly, she didn't choose the bunny girl costume for its sensuality. She simply thought it would attract attention. She'd never be able to have a serious relationship. I really wish she started being concerned about guys who may be watching, or at the very least, me. All the stress was wearing me down. I had the hope for some kind of improvement, if only for Asahina's sake. In any case, Nagato should really have said something. Asahina eventually exited the room, staggering and stumbling, looking like a student who had just failed all of her tests to get into college for the second year in a row. Not knowing what to say, I remained silent. Kyon? She sounded like a ghost returning from a fancy cruise ship who had just sunk deep into the ocean. If I become ruined for marriage, will you take me? What should I say? And wait, you're gonna be calling me by that name too? Asahina, moving like a robot out of gas, returned my blazer to me. For a moment, I perversely hoped that she would jump into my arms and start sobbing, but she walked off with an expression like rotten green vegetables. Kind of a pity. The next day, Asahina didn't come to school. The name Haruhi Suzumiya had already been floating around school, but thanks to the bunny mess, her name has transcended mere notoriety into the realm of common knowledge for the entire student body. That was fine with me. I couldn't care less if the whole school knew about Haruhi's eccentric behavior. The problems were that the name Mikuru Asahina had begun spreading the association with hers, and the fact that I felt as though people around me were giving me strange looks. Man, Kyon, you've finally become one of Suzumiya's merry friends, Taniguchi said in an irritatingly sympathetic tone during break. I never would have expected Suzumiya to make friends. I guess the world is a crazy place after all. Oh, shove it. Seriously, I was so surprised yesterday. I was going home when I saw a bunny girl standing at the front gate. Didn't even have time to wonder if I was dreaming. It made me question if I was losing my sanity. That was Taniguchi. He was waving a familiar piece of paper around. What is this SOS Brigade? What do you do in it? Ask Haruhi. I have no idea. Don't want to know either. Even if I did know, I probably wouldn't want to put words to it. It says to tell you about mysteries. What exactly does that mean? And I don't really understand this part about how a normal mystery won't do. Even Ryoko Asakura came over for a bit. It looks like you people are having fun. But it would be best if you didn't violate moral sensibilities. That stunt went a bit too far. I should have skipped school too. Haruhi was still mad. Not about the fact that she was interrupted during flyer distribution, but about the fact that a day had passed without a single email arriving at the SOS Brigade's address. I was expecting to get 1 or 2 prank emails, but it looked like the world had more common sense than I thought. I'm positive that it was because everyone realized that getting involved with Haruhi would only bring trouble. Haruhi glanced at the empty inbox with a wrinkled brow as she moved the optical mouse around. Why haven't we gotten a single email? It's been 1 day. Maybe there are people with incredible tales of supernatural happenings, but they don't want to tell such a dubious, untrustworthy brigade. I said that to appease her. In reality, do you know of any mysterious events? Yes, I do. Oh, that's wonderful. Please tell me about it. I understand. It's like ... As if that could ever happen. Listen up, Haruhi. That stuff only happens in comic books or fiction. Reality is far more severe and serious. This little prefectural high school in some random corner of Japan doesn't have any ongoing conspiracies involving the end of the world. There aren't any non-humans wandering around quiet residential areas. There isn't a spaceship buried in the hill behind school. None of this will ever happen. Not a single one of them. You understand, right? The truth is that you actually understand, right? It's just that you have nowhere to vent the frustrations of youth, and that restlessness is leading you down a different path. Just snap out of it already. How about you go find some handsome guy and walk home to school together, or go see a movie on Sundays? And join some sports club and knock yourself out. They'd make you a regular member in a flash. At least, that's what I've liked to tell her. But I got the feeling I'd be eating Haruhi's fist in about 5 lines, so I stopped. Is Mikuru absent today? She might not ever come back. That poor thing. I hope she wasn't traumatized by the ordeal. I even bought a new outfit for her. Wear it yourself. Of course I'm gonna wear it too, but it's no fun when Mikuru isn't here. Following precedents, Yuki Nagato and her virtually non-existent presence had become one with the table. There's no reason to be so particular about Asahina. Haruhi could use Nagato as her dress-up doll. Or I guess that's not exactly better. But I got the feeling that unlike the crybaby Asahina, Nagato would calmly put on the bunny outfit as ordered. And I realized I wouldn't mind seeing that. The long-awaited transfer student had come. I was informed by this by Haruhi during the short period of time before morning homeroom. Don't you think he's amazing? One really came. Haruhi was hovering over her desk with a stellar smile like a preschooler receiving a present she'd been waiting for. I didn't know where she heard it from, but apparently the student was transferring to class 1-9. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. It's unfortunate that the student is in our class, but it's still a mysterious transfer student, no doubt about it. How can you tell before you've even seen the student? Didn't I already tell you? Survey says that if a student who transfers halfway through a year is practically guaranteed to be mysterious. Just win, By whom and how was that statistic derived? There's your mystery. If any student transferring in the month of May can be considered mysterious, then you have to assume that Japan has an excess of mysterious transfer students. However, this trademarked Haruhi theory did not follow common sense. Haruhi took off as soon as first period ended, probably off to 1-9 to scout the mysterious transfer student. Right before the bell rang, Haruhi returned with a dour look on her face. Was the student mysterious? Didn't seem that mysterious. Well, obviously. We talked for a bit, but I don't know enough to be sure yet. Might just be pretending to be a normal student. I'd say that's the most probable scenario. It'd be a waste to reveal your true identity the day you transfer in. I'll go do some more questioning during the next break. Oh, please don't. You probably already startled the 1-9 people. Let's picture this. Haruhi, who's practically never initiated a conversation with anyone, suddenly comes into your classroom and grabs the nearest person. Which one's the transfer student? She asks. And the second someone answers, she charges in that direction. Then she probably barges into a happy cluster of friendly students getting acquainted and makes her way to the center, drawing close to the surprised transfer student. Where'd you come from? What's your true identity? Like a cross-examination. I thought of something. Was it a guy or a girl? Could have been disguised, but for now he looked male. Okay, it's a guy. Which means that the SOS Brigade would finally get another male member. He'd probably be forced to join no matter what he said, for the sole reason that he was a transfer student. But he might not be as good-natured as Asahina and me. Would things really go that well? No matter how overbearing Haruhi is, a stronger-willed person would probably be able to resist her, right? If she assembled enough members, we would really have to make this foolish student organization. We could make the Save the World by overloading it with fun Haruhi Suzumiya Brigade official. Setting aside the matter of whether or not the school would accept it, the person who would have to complete the paperwork would be 10-1 me. And then I'd be stuck with the label Haruhi Suzumiya's subordinate for the next 3 years. I hadn't actually thought about what I wanted to do after graduation, but I somewhat wanted to go to college, so I hoped to avoid doing anything that would be put on my record. But as long as I was with Haruhi, that didn't really seem possible. What was I going to do? I couldn't do a thing. I should have stopped Haruhi and made her disband the SOS Brigade, even if my arms were virtually tied behind my back. Then I could have soundly lectured Haruhi and convinced her to live a normal life. Forget about aliens, time travelers, and espers. Find some random guy and put your efforts into a relationship, or work out your body on some sports team. I should have forced her to spend the next 3 years as an ordinary student. If only I had. If I had a stronger case of purpose or will to act, I wouldn't have been washed away by this current called Haruhi Suzumiya and forced to swim in an ocean of idiosyncrasies. The world would have retained its dignity. We would have lived normal lives for 3 years and then graduated in a normal fashion. Maybe. The only reason I say this now is because I experienced things that weren't anything but normal. If you're looking at the flow of this story, you should have figured it out already. Where do I begin? I guess I'll start about the time when the transfer student came to the club room.